cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And welcome to our review, non-spoiler. We might have to do a little bit of spoiler talk at the end, but it'll be a non-spoiler review of Season 2 of The Umbrella Academy. We should probably talk about this stuff before we start recording. Whatever.
He tells me what we're doing as we're doing it.
Well, it'll be a little bit that we need to talk about at the end, but
okay.
This dropped on Friday. We watched the first 5 episodes on Friday. We raved all day Saturday, and then Sunday we finished it.
Right.
And I think we both needed a minute to kind of let it digest because there's a lot that happens in the last 3 episodes.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I keep thinking about how I feel about it, and I liked it. Don't think I didn't.
Right.
But I'm struggling because we've watched the first season so many times that we've had a chance to catch all the stuff and revisit the story because there is a lot going on. There's all these different 6 different stories, 7 different stories, 8 different stories, right? So
if you count Ben, you got 7. You got you've got a lot.
Yeah,
going
and
on.
then what's going on with Dad and Mom and Pogo and so that's season 1. Season 2 is just as packed. So this will be a multiple watch. Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely need to go back and rewatch it.
One of my things for it was it seemed like it went by a lot faster. Like the pacing was a lot faster this season.
Yeah, I mean they don't have to. We know now,
right?
We
Right.
know
We don't have to do
who
the
they
whole...
are and why they are and all of that, so
Yeah.
they can just kind of jump right on into the action.
And I'm really okay with they picked it up after they save Vanya at the concert, and they jump right into the season from that point, and they move forward, and I like how it's not a spoiler. It's been talked about in the previews and stuff like that, but they kind of get spread out over time,
right,
in Dallas, and so them having to deal with out of place, out of time. Oh, by the way, one of them was black in the 60s in Dallas.
Right.
And so they had to deal with that particular conversation, which I thought was handled really well. We also have to deal with, how do you go from living a life of somebody that took care of everything for you. Now, they did, technically almost all of them left.
Yeah.
Except for Luther in the first season, but they show up to Dallas in the 60s with nothing.
Right.
And what they do and how they handle that.
Right.
And each of their personality traits kind of lead
dictates
them
where they go. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
One of the things I read was that this particular article, I won't name the article, was saying that they changed the rules of the universe within the show, and I'm struggling with this concept because what I got from this was they all evolved and learned from their previous mistakes throughout this season, and there's a scene specifically in the last episode. Or the next to last episode that directly relates to everything they learned in the first season. If you've seen the first season, you know kind of pretty much what I'm going to be talking about.
Right.
But first of all, the article itself made a point of using every 10-letter word or more in the first sentence I read of the article. So I'm sorry, I'm going to curse here a little bit, but fucking writers who think they're better than everybody else by using all these words, it immediately makes me question your motives.
Right.
But I really appreciated in this season that they were willing to, all of the characters were willing to accept where they made their mistakes.
Yeah.
And how it affected everything else that happened to them in the first season. And that is called growth and progress and learning. Maybe the Star Wars fans should learn this too. I really liked that concept.
Right. Well, and it moves the story forward, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to do a series and your characters aren't going to learn from their mistakes, they're just going to make the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah.
And that was like, 60s sitcom,
Yeah.
70s
Yeah.
sitcoms, right? Where it was shaped a little differently, but they did the same thing over and over again, and that's boring. So yeah, they should learn, like, and they've grown, evolved, like Klaus, he's still kind of a hot dumpster fire, but he's not the same hot dumpster fire.
He definitely is on the wagon, but it's Klaus, so he's kind of flaky as it is, like naturally flaky as it is. And they actually kind of go back and show some more character building in one of the episodes where they kind of show what that was going on it has to deal with Ben's funeral and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And then Luther too. It was one of those that had a point to do what he did in the same thing in the first season, and didn't do it. And then he becomes the aw shucks version of Luther, the rest of the time, and he's just happy to be there with everybody and everything.
Yeah.
And 5 is amazing. 5's amazing. Klaus is amazing. Klaus has got all the best clothes.
Yes.
Allison has a bunch of really cool clothes too. Them dealing with racial issues in Dallas in '63, just before Kennedy gets there. I'm never going to say that's heavy-handed. Like, some people may say that was a little heavy-handed. Watch Watchmen and tell me that you can now, because
you can't. I don't think it was heavy-handed at all.
That's what happened.
That was Dallas and a majority of the South, right, in the '60s. Dallas was probably slightly more progressive than the Deep South, but still not. Yeah,
still not great. But they handled it very well, and they handled it with showing what actually happened, but also showed it with a dignity. And oh, by the way, the people involved have superpowers.
Yeah.
And how having those superpowers are both good and bad,
right?
And using
could
them
make things way worse
than what they really are, and stuff. And I thought that was really well done. There was some introduction of some new characters this season. The most important is Lilla, who ends up being Diego's hanger-on. Diego ends up in a mental institution, and because he's trying to save Kennedy. This is not a spoiler. It's in the trailer. And she is like the one person that kind of talks to him on a regular basis and stuff. And her introduction, especially the first, probably Lila.
Yeah, it's spelled Lila, but I was like,
Lila.
Yeah,
Lila. Her introduction, specifically in the first 3 episodes, she is even more crazy than the Umbrella Academy, which puts some normalcy to what we expect from the Umbrella Academy and how everything is. And she's like the crazy, wacky one. And her story arc and why she is, who she is, what she is, all that is a nice addition to both building the lore of the Umbrella Academy itself in this universe, but also it adds another wrinkle into the story of them.
Right. And it does kind of help with towards the end, when you start to see where things that happened or things you were shown in the first season, kind of where they are, how they happened. I'm trying not to say.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you another side to things that you saw in the first season, and kind of some context to some of those things.
It's really well handled. Because I just would have said it. But yeah, that I think that edition is really interesting. We will talk about some spoilers here in a second, but the last little thing I want to talk about before we get into the spoiler talk is the music is amazing.
Yes, yes. Of
Every
course it is. It's Gerard Way.
Yeah, yeah.
But
The music is really good in the first season. It's the music is in there for flavor and stuff like that. Yeah. The music is another character in this show.
Yeah, and
this
it's
season.
I think it felt like they went out of their way to use it's. I think we knew all the songs, but not by who sang them. They were all
the one
different.
Billie Eilish song was done by somebody else, and with Billie's permission.
Yeah, no, there was a couple
there was
because there was a lot of older songs that I remember when I was younger, like 50s, 60s songs.
Yes,
but you know, with a little bit of a different twist, maybe slowed down or sped up and sung by somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. There was one specific song, the Dead South, independent bluegrass band that became very popular on the internet. Their song, which has almost got 200 million views on YouTube, that song was in the show, used in a way I would have never thought of using it.
Yeah,
That was that is one of the things I look at when I'm thinking about if I'm going to write a scene or if I'm going to add something to a scene or whatever. I always think about how taking a very unique song and adding it to a situation that you wouldn't necessarily think of, and like a torture, having an upbeat song in a torture scene like they did in Reservoir Dogs, that kind of concept. And so, music in this season is another character and is used amazingly well.
Yep.
We're gonna talk a little bit of spoilers, a little bit of spoilers, because spoiler. You've just been warned. Thanks for watching or listening. Go watch it if you haven't already. A little bit of spoilers. We have to talk about what happens when the world is been saved again.
Again.
And they go back, and it's no longer the Umbrella Academy.
Right.
It's the Sparrows.
Right. And
Ben's alive.
Ben, yes, and apparently kind of the head. He is number one.
Yes.
So yeah.
I have some critiques about the show deviating from the comic. The first season is a amalgamation of the first book and the second book, the first run and the second run, and a lot of the second run deals with them going to Dallas, and Dallas is specifically and saving JFK and stuff like that, and they dealt with a lot of that this season,
right,
with direct connections of 5 older, younger selves and stuff like that. The third volume, the third run, is all about all the bad guys they caught in a prison on the dark side of the moon. Okay. Or an alternate dimension.
Oh, because I was going to say...
It's dark side of the moon. They talk about the dark side of the moon and stuff.
In passing.
The other thing that Hargraves is trying to do in the second volume is get nukes from Kennedy. And with Kennedy being killed, he's no longer able to get the nukes.
Right.
And it's also talked about in this season that Hargraves is not of here. But the idea of you're going to have essentially in a roundabout way Justice League versus the Avengers, or Justice League versus Justice League Dark, or one team up group versus another team up group as the plan for the third season. I like taking it that way, away from Hotel Oblivion that they did in the third run. That's a lot to explain to an audience who are married to these 7 characters.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure that they can still pull some stuff in or some characters in or whatever. But yeah, they need to deal with the fact they have still changed time.
Yes.
Them being there changed
Yes.
time. So they're either going to stick to the rules of time travel as Tony Stark has laid out for us, or they're just going to blow them completely out of the water and go do something like it sounds like this third run is. So yeah, I think it's I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited. This is definitely going to be a rewatch for us a couple different times to catch some of the things. It is got a lot of stuff going on, and like we were just touching the surface of what happened in this season, and I'm really happy with it. Like I was nervous. I was really nervous because it's hard to something that was so well done in the first season. And so well thought out, and now they have to kind of punt with their storytelling outside of the comics,
Right.
to move forward. And so that like I was really nervous, and I was really happy with how it landed.
Well, and it helps that it's in conjunction with who wrote the comics, right? So,
yeah, Gerard Way and Gabriel Raw are both involved in
and so they can say, okay, we haven't gotten to this yet, but I had this idea to do this in the fourth run, or and so it's all still organic to where the story was going. It just hasn't gotten there yet in the comics.
Yeah, and I think that's wise that you have the creators. They did this with Old Guard. They're doing it with Why the Last Man.
Yeah.
They did it with The Boys. Like the actual creator of the comic was directly Ready Player One. Blah blah blah. I can't remember his name right now. He was directly involved in the writing of it too, and
Right.
so that idea of having these initial creators come in and have another brainstorming session about, because you can't have to tell stories differently visually than you do in book form and stuff like that. And there's some stuff you can do and some stuff that you can't do. Interdimensional stuff is really hard to do.
Yeah.
Even Doctor Who does it,
Yeah.
a lot of places look like Cardiff. Yeah.
Shocking. Yeah. And you don't want it to lose the majority of your audience. That's kind of been it's Netflix, and they have not been a Legion level taking chances on a crazy story with they want to appeal to the most people possible. So
like Boys would never have really been able to do what Boys needs to do on Netflix.
But Amazon, thank God, said yes.
Gives no F's. Like, just watch what Amazon's been putting out there with stuff, and and so and I'm like I said, I'm super happy with this season. I'm glad it really worked out, and we'll probably have to go rewatch it like 7 more times. But
I absolutely want to watch it again. I'm excited to watch it again.
We need to go finish watching Dunkirk. So that is our review of season 2 of Umbrella Academy. What did you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. If you are watching us on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. If you're on the podcast feed, follow us there. We're trying to upload as much as we can, but like everything else right now, it's just weird and off. So
we can talk about reruns and movies that came out 2 years ago.
Sure, why not? It's content, bitches. So let us know what you thought, and like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Follow us on all Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Links in the description down below. And until next time, cult members. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.